Hello my friends, and welcome back to another Majora's Mask project video. Today we are hoping to get started on our fourth mask for the project, which will be the Blast Mask. I've had a couple of comments. Suki's behind me. Sorry if you hear the scratching. You okay? I've had a couple of comments requesting the Blast Mask just from the community, and I thought I wanted to try something a little bit different and figure out exactly how I'm going to do this. The Blast Mask is quite round, so what I'm thinking is maybe blowing up a balloon and then putting paper mache on that balloon and then putting foam clay over the paper mache when it dries. And hopefully I'll get like a nice round shape. But I also haven't done paper mache since like year one, first grade. So we're gonna see how that goes. And I apologize, I guess, if my plan is wrong. I apologize if I just end up doing the normal foil and foam clay stuff, because like, let's be real. It's the easiest. It's been the easiest thing so far to get the masks done. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the mask making.
Because I wanted to paper mache this mask, the first thing that I needed to do was make the paper mache. I had two different types of glue, a white PVA glue and a clear glue, but the clear glue was completely dry, so I used the PVA. Mixed that with water, ripped up some paper to put into the glue mixture, then blew up a balloon to the size that I actually wanted and start to cover the base of the balloon with the paper mache. Like I said, I hadn't done paper mache in a very long time, so I really was winging it. The mixture was equal parts water to glue, and I just ripped the paper up as I went because I wasn't sure exactly how much I needed. If you do this, it is a messy process, so make sure you put something down to have the glue drip on. Luckily, I had my cutting board, so it made it a little bit easier, though I did spill some glue on myself quite a bit. Once I covered the balloon with the paper mache to my liking, I then went to my laundry sink, got the elastic for the mask, and hung it up to dry. I let it dry overnight, though the middle section was still a little damp in the morning, so I took it outside to finish up drying. Once I was completely satisfied with how dry it was, I then took it inside to work out how exactly I was going to pop the balloon. I'm not a big fan of balloon popping, so my next thought was to just grab a sewing needle or one of the sewing pins that hold fabric in place and rip a tiny hole up near the mouthpiece of the balloon so it wouldn't pop loudly all at once. The next thing that I had to do was literally wait for it to deflate, though I found pushing down on it did help. It did kind of misshape the mask though, so I should have been a little bit more careful, though I made up for it with the next step. I cut off the remaining parts of the balloon and then I grabbed some masking tape. I tore so many pieces of masking tape to then put around the edges of the mask. My idea was to basically make the edges flat and more even to work with, and then I even cut it down even more, just until I was happy with it. I then grabbed more masking tape and put it around the inside of the edges of the mask, cutting the remainder of the balloon as I went. I found that even though it was glued down, having the rest of the balloon inside was pulling on the base of the mask, and I didn't want that, so I had to completely cut it out. I then covered the mask top with more masking tape, using about 16 pieces around, making sure it was all smooth, flattening down any paper mache remainder that might have been sticking up. Now for the foam clay, like all the other masks. I basically just grabbed a bunch of foam clay and completely smoothed it over the base of the mask. I was very worried about how it would dry because I did want this mask to be very smooth and round, so I was hoping that with enough water I could smooth it down, and was basically just hoping for the best. Once that was completely covered, as it was a hot day, I then took it outside to dry in the sun. It really does speed up the process a lot. This is me making sure I'm okay with it, questioning whether it will turn out okay, but trust the process. And luckily when I went outside, I did remember I had this little dresser out here, so I placed it on a pot plant that was round, and this is what it looked like when it was mostly dry. The next thing that I wanted to do was start to sketch on the skull pattern on the base of the mask. I did have to redo it a couple of times because I wasn't happy with the placement of the skull, but in the end I think I got it right. Also noting that my camera is mirrored because I'm recording in selfie mode, so the mask is obviously the other way. The next thing that I did but actually didn't record was put some foam clay around the edges of the mask because the previous amount didn't quite reach the edges and I wanted to make sure that it was completely covered. I then grabbed the foam clay again and started to mold the shape of the skull onto the base of the mask, basically going to the outline of what I sketched earlier. As my previous video, The Mask of Truth, I grabbed a pencil with an eraser on the end of it and this helped seal the edges of the skull part of the foam clay, just pressing it all the way down to the base. I left that to dry overnight and the next day it was completely dry. I was super excited with how it was coming along.
I'm also wondering whether I should tape or like hot glue the mask base on the inside of this just to make it more stable and also so I don't have to cut out holes in this mask, like in the base for the elastic, because if I do that and then the elastic is on it, I feel like it'll squish because of the pull of the elastic. So I'm wondering whether I should just put this in, glue it, make it a little bit more neat, and then maybe even like fill in the blanks with foam clay like I did with the other ones. I'm liking how it's coming. I just want to figure it out, you know?
As I basically said there, I then grabbed my hot glue gun and only hot glued the top and the bottom of the cardboard base before gently pressing my mask onto the cardboard base itself. I wanted to make sure it wasn't misshapen in any way, and once I was satisfied, I then tied the elastic to the inside of the cardboard mask base.
Time to paint it. I think I'm going to try and paint the skull first, and maybe use masking tape and then cover it and then cut it out with a Stanley knife, and then after that take it outside and go spray paint it, because I've got this blue-black spray paint and I think will be perfect for the mask. I just didn't know whether to spray paint it first and then paint the white, or paint the white and spray paint. I don't know. Maybe I spray paint it first. I decided to spray paint it first. I literally changed my mind in 2 seconds. So I just got a package delivered, and it is Zelda. But they sent it in this big ass box, and it like folds in and also has like a lid which I could use as a backboard. But how perfect is this for spray painting the masks in? I'm going to be using this from now on to spray paint. Now that this is attached, this is what it looks like when I wear it. I can't see a thing.
Now it was time to paint it. I took it outside onto the balcony, and like I said, I used the box that my delivery came in. I had this nice navy blue that I had previously bought at Bunnings, and I did a total of 3 coats of blue paint. Thankfully, because of the wind and the heat, the paint dried rather quickly. I do also want to note that you could do more coats of paint if you so want to, especially if you sand down the paint in between coating it. But I get impatient and I don't actually sand down the project too much, especially the foam clay, because then you will have to seal it with PVA glue before painting again. It just elongates the process. This is what the mask looks like completely coated, and this is what it looks like when it's dry. The next thing that I wanted to do was paint the skull in a light grey white colour. This part was quite tedious, but it wasn't nearly as tedious as the Mask of Truth or painting the Bremen mask, but I usually do 3 coats of paint for any type of paint, spray paint, acrylic paint, anything, just to try and get the ultimate coverage for the project. I just grabbed a thin square brush and kind of just tried to get around the edges as much as possible without painting the base. The grey seemed too dark at first, but I was trusting the process with more coats.
1 coat of paint done.
While I was doing the other coats of paint, my mind started wandering. I looked at this mask symbol as much as I possibly could during this time, and I was wondering whether it was the exact same symbol as the ornamental skulls from Skyward Sword, and when I did some research, it actually looks quite similar. Look, it's not exactly the same, but I thought it was pretty cool that a game from the year 2000 still had the same symbolism and, well, designs as a Zelda game that came out in 2011.
Second coat of paint.
I was finally up to the last coat of paint, and I made it just a little bit lighter than the other greys that I was using, mainly so I could really get the paint to pop against the navy blue base. I did really take my time with this last coat because I just really didn't want to mess it up. I was really liking how the mask was coming along, and I didn't want one small mistake to ruin that. Once the mask was completely painted, there was a couple more things that I wanted to do, mainly fill in the backside of the mask. You could see as I'm painting, it's still hollow for where I added the cardboard base. So I just grabbed some foil and some foam clay and kind of shoved it in between the cardboard and over the eyes, just for more support and comfort when wearing. And that is the blast mask done. Please let me know if you like how it turned out. Feel free to subscribe if you want to follow the project, and let me know in the comments what mask you would like to see next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!